We might be live. We might be live. It always takes a second, but wow, that was unreal.
Classic, instant classic.
First good game of the series. We've been talking all series long about how it's just been gross and Toronto's been underwhelming. This was the first game where you're like, these are two really good teams going back and forth. So there's so much to talk about here. There's missed opportunities. There's really heroic performances both sides. But we'll just kind of roll the ball out there and go. And I've definitely got a few bones to pick on.
Let me go first because everyone's gonna go crazy about the refs, and
we're not. Not one person wants to talk about the refs. Joe Sway, you go first.
All right, guys, I gotta hand it to Kyle Lowry. Listen, Kyle, I knew he was bad. I knew you had it in you in terms of putting together those postseason performances, but I didn't know you had that much in you. I didn't know you had that much in the tank. Double overtime performance. These guys are out there gassed. They pretty much played since the third or fourth quarter, it felt like at least. And he showed that these guys went through what they went through last season, and it wasn't just Kawhi. It was the other guys too, and Kyle Lowry is the heart and soul of that team. Brad Stevens tried his best to do what he did in the last game, but Kyle, little by little, was picking up his momentum. Kyle Lowry not only got it done on both ends of the floor, but he was setting up guys, heads-up plays. I was thinking whoever makes the crazier play between him and Marcus Smart was going to win the game, and Kyle Lowry taught Marcus Smart. Right when I thought Marcus Smart had pulled it off, I was going to say this is the Marcus Smart.
Smart did almost everything he could, you know.
It would have been, listen, guys, if the Celtics won tonight, this would have been a game in Marcus Smart's history. Like, it would have been talking about this for years. Remember the time when Marcus Smart knocked off the Raptors? Instead, it's Raptors and Celtics Game 7, guys. What can I say?
Yeah. Jimmy.
So, you want me to chime in? I'll chime in.
Bobby's got a lot to say, so we're going to let him go last. He's just going to roll. He's going to take us through the rest of the hour.
This game felt like 3 different games in one. I mean, the very
like 100 games, right? You tear up your notes, you kill your game story, and you write it all over again.
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
like I
didn't write that tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have written this story about the Raptors coming out flat again to start the game, and the Celtics not taking advantage of it, or you could have went vice versa, I guess, because both teams were, I thought, putrid on offense, and then the way the Celtics closed that second quarter was pathetic on the Celtics' part. You want to talk about the referees? We will at some point. That's not my lead by any means, but those two overtimes.
Save it for the second hour.
Those two overtimes were two playoff teams that were doing everything they could do in that game. It was like the Celtics. It was almost like the Celtics felt like this was an elimination game for them. That's how it looked. And the Raptors, obviously, it wasn't. Joe Sway, to your point on Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's just a freaking bad man. I mean, that dude is a gamer.
But the shots were falling. He was hitting Lillard threes.
He was hitting unbelievable shots, and I couldn't believe that they didn't go to him in the was it
when Powell ISO'd
Powell
Kemba.
3
he didn't have his legs, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Take that coach of the year. Take that coach of the year.
No, man, he didn't have his legs. He was exhausted.
I loved
3 minutes tonight.
I did love right before that Mark Jackson's advice was, I don't care what it is, whoever it is, I take it right at Kemba Walker. And Powell gets it, he shoots a 3 over Kemba Walker. He's like, that's just not the shot you're looking for here.
That was brutal.
But hey, I mean, it's too bad because Kemba showed some life late in the game, but I mean, Kyle Lowry had his way on both ends, and it was just one of those games where that was the NBA champion Kyle Lowry. And Raptors fans have been saying it. You haven't seen Kyle Lowry yet. Well, we saw Kyle Lowry, so
yeah.
And that's Kyle Lowry who carries a weight, not the most chiseled athletic guy you'll ever see. 53 minutes into the game hitting a game-winning shot. That's just you said all you had to say, Joe Sway.
He was so winded by the end. He was just yelling at Nick Nurse. He was just like
I didn't think he had that last shot in him because he went quiet there in that second overtime, and then he pulled out that turnaround after he got the steal on Brown. But Norman Powell in that second overtime was the story in the game. Raptors went small, like I wanted them to in that period with him out there.
Coach
Daniel Tice
wanted them to go small,
that won the game. Fourth quarter overtime, double overtime. They have a lot more versatility, and Pascal Siakam got some shots too that Toronto would have had a nightmare about all offseason looking back on that because he was horrible in this one. Couldn't get anything to go. Even that rollout, he couldn't get anything to go. But Norman Powell steps up in a way that you couldn't believe in this game.
Norman effing Powell.
All right,
the Sean transition.
We've given the Raptors
the steal and finish.
Yeah. we're giving the Raptors a lot of credit. We got to look at the Celtics. Obviously, the Marcus Smart
Not enough.
game.
I mean, this was unbelievable.
Sure,
I think the Raptors.
Again, they played a great game, but again, it's a double overtime game. You're gonna point at things here if you're the Celtics fan with the missed opportunities. Just a million moments here.
Let's go to Tatum.
Tatum and the Tatum
turnovers.
The turnovers. What a weird line he had, because to me, he ended up with nearly a triple double, but he seemed. I mean, he was off all game. I mean, the turnovers were unbelievable. The pass to Nick Nurse, which was some shady shit there on Nurse.
Yeah,
Nick Nurse needs to sit his ass down.
But regardless, when they were blitzing Tatum, he was just getting frustrated. Just slapping the ball out of his hands, turning it over. He was just jumping in the air and not knowing where he was going with the ball. He was a mess on offense. I'm amazed the line came out. To his credit, he hit a couple shots late, but he had a rough game. I felt
he wasn't dependable. He wasn't the guy that you want to just say give the ball to Tatum and let him carry you to victory. That player didn't exist tonight, in my opinion. When Brad Stevens drew up that out of bounds play to Jaylen Brown at the rim, I mean, I was completely fine with that play. But before that, I was like, who do I honestly want to take this shot right now? Because I wasn't confident in any of the players, the way that they were turning the ball over late in the game, the way that they were missing certain shots. I guess maybe I could have said, give it to Marcus Smart and pray for the best, because Tatum wasn't he did hit that three, to almost prolong the game. But before that, he was making some bad decisions out there offensively. We talked about the turnovers. We talked about some of those misses. I mean, a couple of air balls. I thought, as bad as Siakam was on offense, I thought he defended Tatum pretty well on certain possessions there. And Jaylen Brown, extremely hot in the first half, but certainly, cooled off in that second half there. And the turnovers, again, between Tatum and Brown, it felt like those guys would get the ball, and I don't know if they just went into panic mode or if they were trying to do too much with it, but it wasn't the cool, calm, and collected Celtics that we've seen at times. And again, Kemba Walker, I think, was just getting torched so much by Kyle Lowry that his head wasn't necessarily where he needed to be on offense either.
Yeah, but I think for Jason Tatum, at least, I don't know about Jaylen Brown. He was definitely thinking way too much. I think he wasn't reading the defense like he typically does, or like what's made him the NBA All-Star that he is now. I feel like he was forcing the issue. He was
going to go with Brown out of that one.
He would go right into a double team, get an offensive rebound. And it was just like, dude,
you're saying on Jaylen here.
What's up?
You're saying Jaylen?
No, Tatum. I feel like.
All right, because I thought
every time the Celtics got into ISO ball. Yeah, every time they got into ISO ball, they got into trouble there because the defense would collapse and they were just really active hands, and then just Tatum, just holding the ball too long, it would just stagnate the offense.
Yeah, but everyone else would get out of that quickly. Yeah. Jason tried to dribble.
He can't get out of it. He tries to dribble out of it, and he kills the whole possession. And then you end up with either a tough shot or a turnover. We had way too many of those all night long. In fact, you saw in the fourth quarter when they came back and they hit those series of threes, they finally stopped doing that. We were texting like, move the ball. And then it was bing, 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 and you had open three, open three, open three. Then you started moving the ball, and you get how many alley-oops to Tice did he have? Between at the end of the game and the overtime.
The Raptors didn't have their legs anymore.
Work the offense, make them chase you, work the ball around, and then when you needed a bucket, it would you just run a high pick and roll, and Kemba would dribble the air out of the ball, or you'd ISO Tatum off a high screen, and you'd be stuck.
So that's only.
I don't get it.
That's the only thing I think the Celtics have going for them in Game 7 is the Raptors might have used all their gas here in this game because they looked like they had nothing left in double overtime.
They got a few other things.
I think so. I mean, how did the Celtics get up after something like that? All the turnovers late in the game, those devastating shots on Kemba. I think that's something that the Raptors have figured out now is they can get shots over him, especially in the small ball lineup. But
they did.
I don't have any gripes with
earlier in the series. Lowry's first good game, he still opened up with 10.
They go after him, and you got to give Kemba credit because he competes. He gets the hand up there and he gets in on the guys, and he never gets underneath them, which. That underneath play played a big role in this one. I'm sure we'll get to that later. But Jaylen Brown, besides Marcus Smart in this game, I love what Jaylen Brown did here. I know the 3-point split wasn't great. 30 shots is going to blow Jimmy's mind. He didn't like all the shots he was getting. But he willed his way through struggles. Those shots at the beginning of the fourth quarter were huge. And then the free throws to force the double overtime was ginormous. So This was his best game as a Celtic to me because he willed his way through misses. Yes, because
he went cold after that hot start. That offense,
his hot stretches were important though. They
I
extended
know,
the
but I
game.
mean, he was like 10 of 18 and he finished 11 for 30. I think. I mean, I think he was.
And what was Siakam?
I'm saying Tatum, Brown in the second. Brown might have gone like one of his last 12. He went ice cold.
Well, he had hot shooting stretches that
Yeah.
were crucial. He shut down Siakam again, and he grabbed 16 rebounds
Yeah.
in a game that I think rebounding played a big role in.
I think he's played many better games, but he was good and he was aggressive, and that's what they needed early because you had shitty Tatum again, and you had Kemba just non-existent. So again, you had to have somebody do something, and so he was jacking him. But this team doesn't win when Jaylen Brown takes 30 shots. That's not the model.
And Tatum didn't turn it over three times in key
spots. That's not how you draw it up. We're not pinning anything on Jaylen. It's just that's not how they're at their most successful, you know?
When you got Jaylen taking all those threes, what did he take? He took 13 3-pointers. You had Marcus Smart who took 11. I just think Tatum was obsessed with either getting to the free throw line or he was going to get those easy twos. I just think he was the issue.
He can't leave it alone, you know? Like,
all right, so what was – I missed out.
He's got to spend like 60% of the game complaining. Was
it technical, him complaining?
It's unbelievable. No, it was the elbow.
The elbow, inadvertent elbow.
Which obviously,
that was garbage.
There
was nothing malicious about it.
Yeah.
That to me. So if we want to get into the refereeing, I mean,
I don't know. Go for it.
Celtics fans do have a reason to be pissed. I think with some of the calls that went against him. I thought the Tatum call was garbage. That's not a technical. He got fouled.
What about the Wanamaker one they missed earlier in the game?
I don't even remember that one.
The one where he swung his arm back and hit Larry in the face and he was bleeding. It was like the second.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the exact same play. Yeah.
And then the Tice reversal to me is complete garbage because you're
that one too.
That's garbage. I mean,
I don't like. I mean, look, I don't like that. We all don't like the challenge, but when you look at it frame by frame, he didn't look like he got touched.
I thought Brad missed the challenge.
I thought he got hit somewhat on that left.
On the end one with Tice on the dunk, I felt that he got fouled there too. But again, these are.
And I thought Kemba must have gotten fouled when he drove to the hoop late in that second overtime, and it was a complete no call there.
So I thought Kemba got slapped.
That's what I'm saying. I thought Kemba got smacked. But
that's one Steven should have challenged with 130.
That was also light. It looked like it was small guy falling sort of foul, you know? Like
it's old school, man. But that nowadays, that's a foul in the NBA.
Okay, the superstar.
You know what? If they challenged it, they would have overturned it if they challenged it.
Yeah, they've been calling that.
Yeah.
James Harden gets.
I don't want to harp on the refs. But it did feel like that. Some of those calls and some of the replays, man, like. They just sort of drain the moments, and they kind of take away from the flow of the game. It's turned into the NFL in some ways. I'm kind of sick of the refs making themselves part of the story.
I just think that it was just arbitrary. It was one of those games where you have no idea when something's going to get called versus not called. It just kind of felt like that. I don't know that it hurt one team versus the other. It just felt like so you're calling that, but you didn't call that. It was one of those sorts of games. But, you know.
Hey, anyone here think that Brad Stevens going to go with Nick Nurse on Nick Nurse?
Right now?
On that fake,
he should.
He's waiting in the corner for a three-pointer. Come on, that's the crouch over.
He's not going to, but he should.
Dude, Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is dirty.
Brad needs to game the officials a little bit for Game 7. They need whatever they can get because Kemba, tough whistle in this game. Like, he got battered in there a few times throughout this one and wasn't able to pick some up. But I felt like the officiating went both ways overall throughout this game for the most part. It leaned Raptors to their benefit, but it wasn't anything.
I saw a lot on Twitter. I don't know. You know,
no, this wasn't an officiating game. This was a Norman Powell, Kyle Lowry, even a Marcus Gasol, Serge Ibaka game. They had big stretches in this one.
Marcus
the Raptors.
He had that three, I guess.
He had a couple threes, and the Raptors came to play top to bottom. Now, Pascal Siakam could cost them this series. I mean, he has just been so bad, another level bad in this series. The series would be over in Toronto's favor if he even gave them like 40% of what
I had all my tweets. I had all my tweets saved in my Twitter drafts for Siakam that I was hoping to unleash tonight because that guy has been a complete no-show. He did have that big 2-point shot though in that second overtime kind of baseline jumper there, which
Yep.
I was stunned that actually went in because he couldn't even get a layup.
I mean,
before
and
that.
that's a bunny. They gave it to him too. Brown was helping in.
There was a few situations there. You had the Tice, obviously the nurse on the floor situation, Kemba at the game, the jump ball that wasn't called a jump ball, and they got a timeout. It felt like a lot of those late. The Celtics lost every officiating jump ball down the stretch.
Why was it a jump ball? I mean,
it wasn't the timeout versus jump ball. They didn't get that one.
Okay, gotcha.
The Toronto got the timeout there when it was literally the ball was caught and it was hands on.
Now you had
immediately, and that
we have to call it what it is though. The Celtics had a chance to close these guys.
They did, but you're right. Each one of those like 50-50 balls did go against their way. So I get why people are freaking out.
People are freaking out because they
I don't know
feel
that
like
any of those calls were necessarily wrong, except the nurse thing was that was hot garbage. The nurse thing was unreal with him standing there. What was it, Mike Tomlin? Remember the kickoff return where Tomlin?
Oh yeah,
he put the foot out.
Wanders into the field like, oh,
Why are they allowed? I mean, I don't watch enough Raptors, I guess. To
Nurse should be. We're going to start it
it
here. Nurse should be suspended for Game 7.
He should be fined at least.
sign that
Come out with a
right
mustache if you have to, but you're not going to sit on the bench for this one.
That petition right now. I'll be the first one to sign it because is this guy always marching up and down the side? I thought they put rules in place to prevent the coaches from just marching up and down the court. And this guy, I mean, I feel like he might suit up in Game 7.
Can you imagine watching this game next to Tommy Heinsohn? Has anyone checked on Tommy Heinsohn?
No, I haven't.
I'm telling you, that whole second overtime, I'm staring at him.
Game.
And whenever there's not a Celtics player deep in that corner, he's sitting in that corner. I'm like, come on, man. Is this guy serious? You got away with it. And he was still doing it throughout the second overtime.
But listen, at the same time, I'm not taking Tatum off the hook completely. I mean, we're joking I think we're half joking about it. I mean, Tatum's got to make that pass. He's got to know where he is in the court. He's got to know where his teammates are.
Tatum's got to do a lot of things better.
That's just one example, Jimmy. Yeah, he had a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. That's an example of him just like recklessly like driving to the basket and leaving his feet.
He's got to go back and watch tape of himself during the regular season on how he was scoring and get back to that because I think he's frustrating. He's just forcing the issue right now.
I agree.
I want to see more threes. He's backing in. He's over dribbling. It's not what he was doing before. He's completely forcing the issue right now. Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, he came into this 53% on those catch and shoot threes, and I love that they got him those early. He got about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And he missed a lot of them. He started 2 for 8 in this one, so he killed them on the back end and the front end. Yeah. Jimmy talked about their slow start, or their hot start when Toronto got off to a slow start, but they didn't take advantage again out of that. I didn't like Boston's late game execution for large stretches of this one, especially at the end of the fourth quarter. You got those 2 Tice breakaway plays to tie the game, and then both teams, Toronto misses 4 straight shots, and the Celtics just throw 3 straight misses back at them, and it's Brown jacking shots, Tatum just throwing them up on the mid-range. Kemba even had a really bad early shot clock 3-point heave at the end of the fourth, and Joe Sway already said that, but the Celtics and Toronto too, but I felt like Toronto was more dead legs. This is a trend we've seen with Boston throughout the series, that in late games, they'll string together just those heave shot possessions late in games. They lost a chance to win this at the end of the fourth.
Bobby, why the hell is Jaylen Brown getting 30 shots and Tatum's getting, half of those shots? Is it something the Raptors are doing? Are they
Tatum's getting doubled.
They're getting doubled.
They're overcommitting.
But can Brad figure that? Can't Brad figure that out?
Tatum's just got to pass out of it quicker. That's the whole point. You just got to pass out of that. He's just allowing himself to. He's drifting and he's allowing himself to get trapped and he's just getting pushed out.
Right. So this is Toronto. Toronto
through it. They're doing it to him.
Is that he's not making that split decision to either shoot the 3 or get rid of the ball?
Yes, shoot it right. He's holding it. He's holding it.
He did it. The last 3-pointer he made, that was what he needed to do, but he did it in desperation. And he finally makes it. Like that. That was the left step. He stepped right into it. Doesn't matter if the guy's in his face. Like, that's what he needs to do. Either do that or pass out of the triple team.
Yeah.
What do you think of that last play? I'm jumping around here, but that very last play, the Celtics had 5 seconds, and Tatum inbounded it, across the court to Smart, who
Best they could have got, honestly, right?
When he
Probably
threw
the best
it,
look you're gonna get. Yeah.
the way he threw it, it was like a chest push. I was like, oh God.
It was risky as hell.
I didn't like the heave. Yeah.
It didn't.
He didn't want to. I thought it was weird. He didn't want to give it to Kemba. I mean, Kemba can't get down the court.
I didn't want to give it to Kemba either. I was hoping we'd have something drawn for someone coming.
Well,
to
you see the ball
fall.
falling toward Marcus Smart, and you're like, he's going to make this work somehow. And the catch is incredible. The plant is awesome. And he was just off. Like, you couldn't have gotten a better shot.
I don't want to give Kemba the ball in the corner to go length of the court with a foul to give. That's just giving them a 3.5 seconds off the clock there, before they foul him.
Sure, if that's what he ended up doing with it. But, I mean, these guys, when they know that they'll just heave the shot thinking that they're about to get fouled.
If Marcus Smart...
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the option, Jimmy, honestly.
Kemba ended up actually
being a great distraction.
Kemba actually ended up running. Once the ball was inbounded, Kemba ran down the court. I mean, he was actually wide open for that three. If Smart saw him, Kemba would have had a wide open.
That's a good point. I mean, 5 seconds. We saw 0.5 seconds decide a game in Game 3. 5 seconds is longer than you think. John's right. Not enough to go to court, but Smart maybe could have made another read there. Not against the defense that's following you.
I think he was so shocked that he got it. He was like, wow, I'm close to the 3-point line. Now this is half the battle.
And he got a good look,
there. And he got a turnaround fairly clean look. Yeah, I don't think they could have, with no timeouts, length of the court, that's about as good a look as you were going to get there.
Powell didn't want to foul him, so he was backing off.
Right, that was clear. I thought he could, because he caught it with his back to the basket, it would have been really easy to wrap him, and he didn't.
Right,
and when he turned, he had a pretty clean look. So that was,
Let's talk about the third, the Van Fleet foul that changed this game.
Right.
We talk about replay. We talk about replay being frustrating. Every single time we go to it, and this is the Kawhi Leonard rule, which was a good rule, I think a good call here. But then you start throwing in, did he kick out? Did he move his foot forward? And all of a sudden, you got an NFL situation, as you know, John, where they're just guessing on replay.
But the consensus seems to be every time they have one of these is a really letter of the on these flagrants is a really letter of the law that they're not looking at intent. They're not looking at anything. If you do it, they call it. So if you're standing in that shooter's space, it gets called every time. So the fact that it's a flagrant is automatic. The only question is whether or not they view it as aggressive. But it was a foregone conclusion based on the way that they've been calling that you're there when he lands. That's going to be called every time. Every time. It just is what it is. So I don't know. I mean, it sucked that it happened, but it seems like they're calling that every time.
And that's Lowry again.
Throughout that
out of that one.
I couldn't help but think about Jimmy and Bobby. Remember when we were talking, predictions, and I was saying, the third quarter and everything. I thought, it wasn't a huge lead, but I thought that cushion that the Celtics had would be enough. I thought that Jason Tatum, that was going to turn things on. I just think they have to figure out this whole third quarter thing. This is 6 games in a row we're talking about, guys. Can the Celtics please win the third quarter against the Raptors?
More than 6.
Can they do that 60. One time in this series?
Yeah.
Why not switch Marcus onto Lowry? If Lowry's getting hot that way, why continuously let Lowry just burn Kemba?
Well, they're getting the switch.
They just get him on a switch.
Switch back.
Yeah.
They can scramble, but it's hard to do at the top.
Fight through it.
It's hard.
That's the league. That's the league now. You're going to get the matchups you want.
They look for that switch. They did it that game which game was it when Lowry came out, scored 10 out of 12 points by just backing Kemba in right out of the gate. They got the switch every single time, It just is what it is. You get your matchups. And that's what he's got.
I just think that third quarter, I really think it meant a lot. It carried over to the fourth, and then the Raptors just would never go away.
That's where, John, who says the Raptors suck throughout the series, if you think that all of a sudden right there at that moment,
that's where they
stop sucking. That's the moment. That's the moment where it shifts.
This was good. And again, this was the first game where you looked like it and said, these two teams look like they are two very evenly matched teams, and this game could go either way. It kind of had that feeling once the Celtics gave up that 12-point lead. From the third quarter on, I had no feel for this game. I felt like it could have gone 100 different directions,
They can't do this
because both teams were Toronto was making shots that they had. Look, the whole first half, we were texting each other. It's like, did you believe any time a ball left a Toronto shooter's hand that it had any chance of going in, with the exception of Ibaka when he came in and hit those threes and played Rob Williams off the floor forever. We'll never see Rob Williams again.
Shout out to Grant for a good
Brad
game.
was right about that one. The eyes didn't deceive him.
It's exactly right. It's the same thing. He overplays it. He overplays the help side, and he gives up those threes to Ibaka, and it's like, God.
And I knew Serge Ibaka threw the whammy at them, wearing the boot, the removable boot. Now, Giannis had the real deal boot, and he didn't play. But Ibaka just threw that thing off, hit 3 threes in the first half. But
again, Bobby, back to the point, that first half, we're watching it, and it's like, Toronto cannot freaking hit anything. Every time a jumper went up, I'm like, all right, let's get going the other way. Like and then the second half, just shots started falling, threes started falling. Lowry's in those deep threes, even Van Fleet, everybody, and the game completely changed there, I mean, and then from that point on, it was an awesome game. It was an awesome game.
Yeah, they capitalized off the Celtics' misses for sure. I mean, that third quarter, again, I don't know what it is, but you come out ice cold like that, and then you have Van Fleet 3 threes in a row. Like, that's all they needed. That was a 9-point swing. Yeah. Marcus Gasol tops it off a good measure. 12 points in a row like that in 2 minutes. Like, that's how dangerous this team is, and that's exactly why, heading into the fourth quarter, or at least towards the end of the fourth quarter, I still had that thought. The Celtics can get out of these situations better than the Raptors, and they fooled me. They fooled me.
But you know what? The Celtics hit 4.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was in the Celtics didn't they hit 4 straight threes down that fourth quarter stretch too? I mean, they were down by
beginning of the fourth. Yeah,
Smart had a lot to do with that. But then they came right back. The Raptors,
Jalen, Smart, Tatum, they all hit them there. I mean, I just feel like
Tatum
again, me and John said it, and Bobby, you were saying, the Raptors played a good game 4. It's like, no, they didn't, because this is what they look like when they play a good game. Game 4 was a garbage game for both.
Well, this is a phenomenal game.
Right.
And this is how
the Raptors
how you advance to the.
It's 3-3 in this series. The Raptors have played one good game. 1.5.
Game 4, they dominate with the defense. Like, you guys haven't given enough credit to the defense that they're playing in this series, and they are shutting down.
Yeah.
Kemba's his shots limited in that game 4. He only takes 9 shots. That's defense guiding the shots away from him. Again here tonight, only 11 shots. They're guided toward Brown. They're making Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown beat them. And to their credit, they are. But if they weren't,
played really good defense tonight.
They came out in that first quarter. Well, one, they did the zone defense.
Played great, but
they did the zone defense, and then they did what they did last game. They challenged not only Kemba and Marcus Smart to beat them from behind the arc. And Marcus stepped up to the challenge. He made those threes. Yeah. But at the end of the game, I feel like things evened out. And the way they've been defending Kemba, I mean, he's got to figure this thing out. The thing about Kemba that's deceiving to all of us is that he's had so many games where he's able to flip that switch in the fourth quarter. And you keep thinking time and time again he was going to do it. And it just didn't happen. He had a couple of good plays, but when it came down to it, Kemba
wanted to, too.
You combine what Kemba was doing with the turnovers from Tatum, and it was just, they really just kept kicking themselves in the foot there. But again, much props to the Raptors, though. They fought for this one. They fought for their lives.
I'm trying to think. He got a clean look right at the rim before overtime that would have won the game, I think.
He just went on his post game and he's like, I missed a layup. He's like, what am I going to do? That's the one where you thought he kind of maybe got fouled. I don't think he got fouled. I just think he just, he's kind of.
He gets swallowed up in the lane. We were saying this in the
he's just kind of falling off to the side there. I don't think he got fouled there.
Celtics bench tonight, non-existent.
What?
Oh, don't let Grant hear you say that.
Wanamaker hits 2 threes in that second quarter.
That's all he did.
Second quarter. This was a 6-quarter game.
All right. Well, who's playing bench players late in this game besides Powell?
No, I give props to Grant Williams.
Besides Powell. So that's what I'm saying. The Raptors had Powell, which you already called was a difference maker in this game. Celtics, Wanamaker had an amazing game 5. I'm not going to say he was anywhere near that in game 6 here. And Rob Williams, we already talked about how he did nothing good. Grant Williams was, I guess, serviceable in his role.
The Raptors played a 7-man rotation pretty much.
And that could hurt them.
That's a playoff rotation.
Powell 38, Ibaka 21, Gasol only 16 with the start, and Thomas played 6. So they played 8 players total, but one of them was 6 minutes out of out of 48 plus 10.
I'm really surprised by that. I'm surprised we didn't say Boucher out there. I'm sure his whole family was watching tonight. Nothing.
We all thought they'd throw
minute.
Boucher out there, but they didn't. You know what though? The shots were falling. They didn't need emergency Boucher to come in because in the second half at least the shots were starting to fall.
Yeah. No, and this was Powell's first good game in the series. Really, I thought they were going to have to hunt to other places for production, but he came out and did his thing here and allowed them to go small. I would have given up on Marc Gasol. I wouldn't have given him a single minute in this game, but he did his thing in that third quarter. Hit a couple threes, blocked a shot early in that quarter.
I would send Gasol out of the bubble for pizza tonight and just have him not.
No, man. You know what I love?
Just like, oh, sorry, we won't let you in now.
Yo, Mark, I thought they ended that rule. My bad. Oh, my bad.
Sorry. I thought that place was in the bubble. I would just send him out. You know
what I loved about
Mark? Go get us some victory pizza.
I love that Marc Gasol, he just knew he played so poorly last game and in this series where he just looked himself in the mirror. He's like, I gotta do something. I gotta get a haircut.
Yeah.
I gotta clean myself up. I'm a disaster.
Yeah, just right.
You know what I mean?
Just look at me. Just look.
This is it's like week 16 of quarantine and you're just you haven't got a haircut, you haven't shaved. He's like, I gotta get myself together. I can't show up.
It's like 2 months after a bad breakup,
Yeah. I gotta get it together. I'm not gonna retire looking like this. That was Marc Gasol, and to his credit, he showed a little pulse. More than we've seen, but he still picked up 5 fouls, and he was kind of non-factor down the stretch.
Yeah, he had one good quarter. Yeah.
I think he hit a 3.
He hit 2 threes.
2 threes.
Yeah. Bobby remembers.
So Serge comes out there, does his thing. Mark does his thing. Pretty much everyone played well for the Raptors in this game except Pascal Siakam. You still fear him having that turnaround game, but he just seems so out of it right now that I don't see it.
Oh, my God.
Brown's killing him.
When he has the ball, you're like, shoot.
Oh, my God. He took a 3, and it was so off. In
the corner 3 that was wide open. That must have been the first overtime.
I feel like you can even feel it from his teammates. They're staring at him nervously, come on.
And that was even after Nick
You know how to do this, right? You've played basketball before, right?
That was even after Nick Nurse called him out after Game 5.
Yeah, this was the light the fire under his ass performance.
Yeah,
Nick Nurse was
that's
I don't
the
know
thing, though, guys. I don't know, man. Game 7, history will tell you. Pascal, if you look at history, this is the kind of game where Pascal would just drop 25 and just be like, oh, okay. Pascal had that in his bag. The Celtics just lost Game 7. You know what I mean?
I can't believe they're going to 7.
You know what though? We're shitting on the Celtics and rightfully so. But I thought if they won this game, we'd be talking about.
They played a gutsy game. They just didn't.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't play a perfect game, but they played hard. It's just
they played hard. They played gutsy. They're playing the defending champs who finally showed up. It took them 6 games with the defending champs. Shame on the Celtics for allowing the Raptors to get to Game 6.
And it still goes back to what we were saying, Jimmy. It really feels like Toronto's got to play a near perfect game or an absolute great game to win, and they did. And the Celtics, I thought, played a pretty good game. You're going to nitpick stuff because you're expecting things from your best players, but again, they made it hard on Tatum, and he didn't adjust. It's not like he's missing a bunch of open shots. They took him out of his game. They're double teaming him. He's not making good decisions. That's credit to Toronto. Tatum's got to figure it out. If he doesn't figure it out, that's on him, or if Brad doesn't figure out a way to get him free, get some 3-pointers going. I don't know. But this was the first game where Toronto, you're like, okay, they played a,
this is the team that, cruised through the regular season. Okay. This makes sense.
Oh, Bobby's gone.
No, he's there. He's just deep in thought.
Nope, I can't hear him.
Lost you.
Bobby, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
You're giving your team credit. That's not usually when you bounce. Usually when we call you a fraud.
No, he's good.
Any comments, John?
I'm not going to lie to you. We got 1,800 people in here right now. And just from the looks of it, I think it's 90. I think it's 98% Toronto. So I'm not even going to look at the comments right now.
Yeah, very hurtful. I'll check them out later.
So
I'll go to war in the comments.
More than 2 days ago. Jeez.
And especially with Bobby not here, I can't invite these people into the show without Bobby here. Hold on, Bobby.
Hello.
Let me guess. Bobby's mic's going to work, but Jimmy can't hear him.
So my question was out there.
Got it.
Who's been the best player in this series so far?
Might be. That's a tough call.
Start to finish.
Yep.
You're gonna say Lowry.
Jaylen Brown.
That's gonna be wrong.
No, it's Kyle Lowry. He's been making the tough shots, and it could be Tatum. That's the difference right now. Tatum took a lot of tough shots in this game, missed a ton of tough shots. Lowry took some impossible shots in the later stretches of this game. I felt like that he hit over Walker and others, like hand in his face kind of shots. I couldn't believe some of those deep threes went too. Like Jimmy made the Paul Pierce comparison early in the series. This is like prime era Paul Pierce. You can't lose. You need a guy to create a shot from anywhere on the floor, and he's doing it.
Well, I'll put it this way, Bobby. In the games that they've won, Kyle Lowry has played well. In the games that they've lost, Kyle Lowry's been dog shit.
Yeah, stunk. He had 10 points last game, Bob.
So you're right.
Where was your Lowry love then?
You can make a case that as Lowry goes, the Raptors go, because Siakam's just been dead all series. But Lowry's 31 points in the game 3, shocker win, and 33 points tonight. 31 and 33. And those were his two best performances by far.
You want to say he's been the best? I mean, you could, I guess, make that argument. But like John just said, there are some games that he hasn't showed up, just like Kemba hasn't showed up, and
you've got Kemba out for 2 games. You've had Tatum inconsistent basically every game but one.
Right.
You had a bad Jalen, you had a horrible Jalen game and a good Jalen game. I mean, so the Celtics have been all over the place too.
And that's why we're in Game 7, because
that's why we're in Game 7. The only thing consistent is Pascal Siakam's been basically terrible, with the exception of maybe one game.
Yeah, if I
think been the most valuable for the Celtics,
we can all agree that Siakam.
You're gonna say Smart, right? Yeah.
Smart's been there in every game, it feels. Or game 3 and 4, he was kind of disappeared. But
his 3-point touch in games 1 and 2, man, where did that come from? 11 3-pointers, what was it, in 2 games?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, the game 5 was a stinker for Lowry, but I feel like he's been there in every game but that one. Like, I don't think he's had any other bad games like that one. So I give him the consistency factor there and the big game factors that he's had. Jaylen Brown's close too, just because I do have to give him credit for what's going on with Siakam. Like, he is shutting him down when you see those post-ups. Like, he doesn't get an inch in there. So, rebounding too. I think the Celtics have won 5 out of 6 rebounding battles too. He's been there for that. Smart. Tice. Tice was fantastic tonight, huh?
Terrific.
Tice, again, another quietly awesome game from Tice. I mean, how many points did the Celtics get at the rim on dunks in those overtimes? I mean, again, I feel like they, when it's harder and harder to get to the rim, that's when they get to the rim. And, I mean, whether it was alley-oops or just dunks, I mean, Tice had a few of them. I can't say enough good things about Tice in this series. And that was my biggest concern going into this series, was the center position. And he was more than, answered the bell. And another great game from him.
Yeah, and they did, like, the game came down to that decision. Celtics stayed big with him. Powell takes the Raptors small, and it was so close because they're giving up all those Tice buckets at the rim, the back line. They're dead there.
I'll take that trade.
If Tice was a star, he gets to the line 6 more times a game. Exactly. We're not even talking about it.
Tice could have had 40 points if they ever called a foul.
Right. Unbelievable.
Tice is literally getting punched in the nose every time he got.
The war is real.
He comes up and he's just right. He's like,
breakout dunk was a foul.
Unreal. Yeah. Exactly.
Like a on his face every single time.
If he was a star, he would have shot 18 free throws tonight.
Well, you know what? Is that something Brad Stevens should say and just take the fine? I mean, at some point,
he's got to.
We're not. At some point, it becomes an actual thing. I mean, if Nick Nurse can go complaining literally 24/7, all 48 minutes of the basketball game, and all day the next day, and then all the day the next day about these referees, Brad Stevens can't say one little thing like, hey, our guys are getting fouled too. We're not getting any freaking calls.
It's part of the coaching in the NBA. You have to.
I feel like it's not
you
Brad.
You have to.
Brad does it
because the fix is in Game 7.
I feel like he's an emotional one. And
guys, if the fix is in Game 7,
I know.
They're not sending a Canadian team, okay?
I know.
So if anyone's worried about the fix,
the fix was in tonight to make it a Friday night, 9:00.
The league's not favoring
Canada. It's a post-game show.
Yeah,
but I still think Brad should put a little heat on the situation and at least make, put the NBA officials on notice, put the NBA on notice that he is aware of what happened in a few of these games. He was aware that Nick Nurse is crying his way. Nick Nurse cried his way to Coach of the Year, probably. We just don't know it.
No, Jimmy, you hit it spot on. That's exactly how Brad would do it if he did it. He'd go, "We're aware what happened tonight."
Yeah, exactly.
We need to avoid the fine.
I know. That's the thing,
No,
and that's I guess the good.
You got to do something dramatic. Nurse has done that, and that thing with Tatum was foolish. He should get fined for that.
You know that Jaylen Brown's quote on it?
Let's hear it.
Here are the quotes. I don't have it. Oh wait, I'll get it. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna play it.
Jalen's like the new star with these quotes.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens needs to get a chair. He needs to do something crazy, but what he's gonna do is he's gonna say we didn't stop the fast break. He's gonna say we gotta get to the corners better. He's gonna blame the Celtics for tonight's loss, and that's how
Of course, I don't want Brad to blame the referees because it's not the referees. The referees aren't the reason they lost, but I want Brad to at least do what Nick Nurse does, bitch and moan a little bit.
Well, let's go back to his 14 free throw thing. He did that after game 2, right? So game 3, Tatum gets 6, 5, 8,
7 or 5. Yeah.
I'm looking for quotes, but I don't see anything on.
Well, I'll play Jalen for you guys. It's pretty good.
All right. Hopefully, it doesn't blow up Didn't it blow us all up last time?
It did. Do we roll the dice? I think so. We might not be running out of gas. We still got a lot of people here, but I think they're getting bored.
They getting bored?
No, they
better not be getting bored.
Hate us.
Are you doing it right now, or are we waiting?
Ready? I'm going to play it. Here's Jalen talking about that Nick Nurse, the Jason Tatum situation, okay?
Jalen, when you mentioned the coaches as part of that, are you referring to when Nick Nurse was in the corner on that Jason Tatum drive? Looked like he thought that was Tice in the corner when he threw a pass over there?
Like I said before, I think it's a lot of emotions. It's very intense. And things like that, and sometimes things seem to go overboard at times. Let's keep it in check. Let's keep it, respectable, and let's keep playing basketball. Grown men should be able to control themselves. Especially coaching staff. So let's continue to do what we got to do. Play basketball. Let's be ready to fight.
Now, Jalen,
his answer.
Grown men have to control themselves.
That's a Brad Stevens answer.
The more I think about that.
You just called Nick Nurse a little bitch, is what he did.
Yeah.
He said pretty much grown men don't need to address childish acts.
Yeah.
It honestly.
He basically said Nick Nurse is being a little bitch in the corner.
Yeah. Right. He's a grown man. Control yourself and stop friggin' running up and down the sideline.
And I didn't see that initially because they showed the side angle where Tatum just kind of heaves it out there past Tice, and I'm like, why'd he do that? But now it makes sense. Like,
it didn't make sense because, I'm like, what did he want him to cut further down the base to the corner? It made no sense. Like, did he expect Tice to go there? And it didn't. He just saw the guy, let it go, and realized it wasn't him. Tatum did not blame Nurse. He put it on himself. He's like, look, I got to know.
Well, what did Lowry say after game 3, too, right? He said, I took a couple steps back on that inbound. So, Taka. Is that allowed? Who knows? Like, it's different here. It really is in this bubble. But that's BS. They got to fine him for that.
Ban him out of the bubble. Out of the bubble.
Hey, I'm nervous. I'm nervous about Game 7. I've seen this too many times. We saw it against Cleveland in 2018. We saw it against Miami in 2012. We can count down all the examples. And I think Brad's 1-5 in Game 6s now, as B-Rob pointed out earlier. These series, it gets tighter late. They need shot making. It goes in a direction where the Celtics are trying to get that best shot. That run at the end of the fourth, I think I've seen this a couple times now in these playoffs, where they kick out to Daniel Tice for a corner 3 with 2 minutes left. That's your possession down the stretch of these games. Like, this is still the biggest problem for the Celtics in this series is they don't execute in the clutch. Now, they executed big time in the fourth throughout stretches of those overtimes, but when they could have won it in the fourth quarter, they botched 3 possessions in a row. I think it was 3 or 4. And just bad looks. Isolation, shooters on the end of possessions that shouldn't be getting it like Tice. And you see Lowry just creating shots on the fly. That's the difference between playoffs, regular season. Just a guy creating shots on the fly like that.
Yeah, but I think you got a lot of that, Bobby, because I feel like these guys were just gassed towards that end of that fourth quarter. And look, I'm not using that as an excuse for the Celtics, but again, when you have shorter rotation, and of course Brad didn't go as short as Nick Nurse did, but like in that second half, it was pretty tight. I mean, Grant Williams got on the floor here and there, but for the most part, it was Brad Wanamaker here and there, Grant Williams, and his starters, and he sort of just rotated those guys for the next, fourth quarter plus 2 overtimes. And I think that's when guys are not getting back in transition. You didn't see that same transition defense that we've seen from the Celtics all series long. I mean, these guys were gassed, and while the Toronto Raptors were missing shots, and that fourth quarter when the Celtics were able to build that short lead, the Raptors picked up that momentum back again with those 3-point shots and executing in transition. You got to hand it to him.
Yep. And Lowry had that steal. There was the Powell steal.
Huge steal. Yeah.
Those are the transition plays you're talking about. And it's tougher to get back off a steal because the guys.
And I hate to say it, Tatum just wasn't doing the Celtics any favors because he had a lot to do with those turnovers.
It's amazing too, and again, because if you just look at the line, it's like, well, he shot his way out of some problems, and he almost had a triple-double. But
yeah, it explains everything on the line. Yeah.
But it's not. He just.
I wouldn't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like the Celtics have lost every turnover battle in this game, in this series. And it's been close, but they just have those extra few that kill them. It was 15-12 tonight.
15-12 tonight. It's not that lopsided, but it felt like.
When you look at Tatum's stat line, those 6 turnovers, man, it's just glaring because you're thinking about that fourth quarter and those 2 overtimes.
Yeah, and
exactly.
It just felt like they were all at the only time you can't have it. But again, in a game like this, that's this close where every possession matters, any turnover at any point in time is magnified. So again, you're going to Tatum because you're expecting the bucket, and you get the absolute worst case scenario, which is him giving the ball away, and it feels like a double whammy there.
Right, and then when he does it the second time, I felt like he did it for the 4th time because of the circumstances.
Yeah, and so that's why it's magnified because every possession mattered so much.
I just wonder, we think of this Nurse thing on the sideline. I wonder if they threw the whammy with Ibaka too, because did Ibaka look hurt at all tonight? He's jumping up, blocking guys at the rim, hitting all those threes. Like he definitely hurt.
I want to put it past him, man. Nick Nurse is pulling out all the tricks, man. I mean, all the tricks.
Oh, they're playing the mental game. Lowry diving everywhere. Ibaka shows up in the removable boot at the presser.
See, Kyle Lowry is who Marcus Smart.
The presser.
That's who Marcus Smart wants to be when he grows up. Not in terms of like a player necessarily, but like Lowry has figured out how to get all the calls. And he does the same exact shit that Marcus Smart does, and Marcus gets none of the calls. And
Lowry literally used to be like Smart; like he would never get any calls back.
Lowry has somehow worked the system, and Lowry's a genius. He just falls. He realizes, I put myself in a bad place. I'm out of room. I can't do anything positive here.
So I'm
literally fall as if I got shot.
That's like his thought process.
And he's like, I'm trapped. I'm screwed. And he falls. And he gets the call every time, And Marcus can't, that's just like, Marcus has to look at that and be like, that's what I want to be. I got to figure that out. Lowry's grift level is off the charts. It is A+++. He's unbelievable.
2 plays I'm stunned they didn't get was that whack back on Wanamaker that I already mentioned because he comes out of there bleeding. I saw someone tweet that he thinks he has blood packets in his mouth or something for that tournament. And then end of fourth quarter, I thought they were going to give OG shots on that heave to the rim.
Oh, I did too. I thought the game was over. Yeah.
I thought they were too.
Well, that's where you catch some breaks if you're the Celtics. I think you got killed a little bit with the.
I'm surprised that wasn't a shooting foul at the end there.
It was kind of the same type of idea with.
It wasn't even a foul.
Might not.
It wasn't a foul. That's the thing.
Well, you glad it's a foul because they
realized I shouldn't have blown that whistle. Let's pretend it was not a shooting foul because they're both going up for the ball at the same time. That was a tough call. But
it reminded me of the timeout on the other end because OG had the ball and they're calling timeout like a second before he even catches it, felt like, but they gave it to him there. This was a tough game to officiate. I felt like both teams got hit at spots, but I think of those Tice fouls, the one you mentioned with Lowry, some of the other stuff that happened in overtime, they definitely got nailed there at certain portions. So, I mean, this came down to shot making. Norman Powell, how many shots did he make down the stretch? He decided this game, and the Celtics just had too many empty possessions, and they gave it a good shot. That Tatum 3 was everything. You're down 4 there, so you give yourself a chance, and Smart had a good shot at the end. I guess we'll get into Game 7 a little bit here, because part of me said the Raptors burnt themselves out here. 53 Lowry minutes, Who knows what tonight did to Ibaka health-wise if he is hurt. And just like all around, keeping it tight the way they did. The Celtics used a little more of their bench. I don't know what kind of difference that makes, but if anyone's going to just come out of this game dead, it's going to be Toronto if it's one of these two teams. But, what Toronto did tonight, it's tough to see them losing after that.
I'm going to play Nurse on this on the out of bounds thing, okay?
Here we go.
Oh, good.
And a comment, Jaylen Brown in there just now said that emotions were getting high, and he kind of said things seem to get out of hand, especially pointing toward the coaching staffs. Do you think that anything was out of line with how you guys were necessarily acting tonight?
No. We're just competing, Andrew.
Just competing.
The Toronto media drives me crazy. And let me tell you this.
Just
okay,
competing.
listen.
Excuse me,
just
sir.
Post-game presser this
Just
guy
competing.
has
Your ass
is like
on the bench.
12, 13 minutes long.
Oh, he holds court. He does.
And not only does he hold court, but he asks the reporters like, "Hey, how are the kids?" Like, not literally, but you know what I mean. Like, is that sort of like chummy? Like
They thank each other. They thank each other for everything.
Yeah,
Hey,
oh, you've seen it, right? Yeah.
congratulations, Coach. Thanks,
Yeah.
Coach. Thanks
That's
for answering
Canada.
that, Coach.
Hey,
Thank
Tim,
you so
have a
much,
good
guys.
night, Tim. Thanks,
They're
Coach.
they're
You
polite.
too.
They're polite Canadians. What are you
Sorry.
gonna do?
Hit him with the
Canada.
hard-hitting question. Did
No,
you
no,
need to do
no.
that on purpose? Was that
They
design?
only-
Was that
that-
by design? Like,
That's the hockey media. Okay,
Yeah.
Mark Murphy would have
Good call.
slammed him with that question.
that's the hockey media.
Jeez.
The only asshole Canadians are somehow in these comment sections. I don't know. I guess we just
Oh
distract them
no, Jimmy.
I've never heard a single Raptors reporter ask that dude a hard-hitting question. Jeez.
Can I?
I don't even
If
know
it's-
what the question. I mean, that was such a weird question.
Yeah, what was that?
What
It
are you
was like he
trying
was
to ask?
Ask that.
So
I was
look,
waiting for Nick Nurse to be like, "What are you implying? What are you trying to say?"
this is a general beef I have with a lot of beat guys is asking a question where you're basically giving the person the out. You know, I can't just ask a question. Jaylen
Yeah.
Brown didn't like the fact that you were on the court. Was there anything wrong with what you did?
Exactly.
Just ask it.
Jimmy knows what's up.
Go in a
Jimmy be asking
straight
questions
line.
like
Don't
that.
zigzag and
They're
ask.
on the Zoom too, John.
Is it
Right at
possible? Maybe blah blah blah. Just ask the question.
You'll
you know?
you'll get a question where by the end of it the reporter's answering it for the player,
Yeah.
and then he just
Or
goes
you
yeah
gotta-
or no.
You're giving him the
No.
answer. You hear
Right.
if you say what I'm saying now, you didn't do that, right? That's not.
Right. Yo, are you like
They're crazy,
Yo,
right?
what
They're
are you
crazy to
doing?
say that, right, Coach?
Right. That certainly didn't happen. Can you say it?
They're behind the Zoom too. They don't even have to do it face to face.
Right? Yeah. You can't get the death stare. You can't have Belichick friggin' lasers on you. You
I
don't
mean,
get
but
that.
yeah, John, it must be that intimidating mask. I don't know, man. It must
Yeah.
really spooked him.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I've gotten a few death stares.
All
but
right,
we
let's.
won't get into
I
this.
mean, let's
All
get
right.
into Game 7. We had the tired factor. Bobby was worried. I'm going to hit Jimmy and Josue on this. Bobby was a little worried that Bobby's quote, direct, I wish I could pull it up here, was, "How did the Celtics come back from this?" I actually don't think that this was one of these, how do we come back from these
Devastating
losses?
losses,
I
yeah.
think this is one where you're like, we could have won this game. We just got to
Right.
go back out and do what we do. I think they're going to – I don't think they feel they let one escape here, nor are they going to be deflated over it. But everyone's going to be freaking tired. There's no question about that. But if you look at the two teams, you would imagine Toronto's probably going to suffer a little bit more from that than the Celtics. So we'll see. But what do you guys expect different here? And again, I hate always oversimplifying it down to who's making shots and
Gotta
who's
hit
not.
shots,
But
yeah.
this is an effort series, and the defense has been largely what's made it difficult for teams to get into offensive rhythms, in addition to just some poor shoot. Toronto's just had poor shooting nights even on their open looks, and the Celtics have had stretches of that as well. So how do you see this one playing, Josue?
Like, I see when it comes to what Bobby's saying about people being tired and the fatigue setting in, I think these two teams are running on fumes. I think the only one exception is Kyle Lowry. I think he's a guy that really kind of needs to get his fatigue back. He put a lot into this game, and to Bobby's point also, he did have a dud the last game. So I feel like because of this game in 53 minutes, he may meet somewhere in between 17, 18 points, that kind of performance. So I'm expecting that for him. But when it comes to fatigue, I mean, these guys are ready, especially the Celtics. Marcus Smart was getting into it with Van Fleet at the end. all that chirping, all that smoke. Man, we want this. This is what we wanted from the beginning. Most of us predicted 7 games. The Celtics got out to a 2-0 lead, so we sort of all predicted predictions. But yeah, you had 3, right?
Celtics at 3.
I don't think it comes down to that. I think again, the rotations are going to be key in this one. I don't see Brad Stevens doing any drastic changes here. What you see is what you get, and depending on how the second unit goes about their minutes, we're probably going to see relatively the same thing. Maybe we get another 5 or 7-0 run for Shemi Ojale, maybe something to that effect. But I really don't think the second unit is going to have a whole lot to do with this. I think it comes down to the starting 5 going against their starting 5.
Right.
Yeah, and we've talked about this earlier in the series. I mean, the Celtics superstars or stars, they're young. They can go 40 plus and
Exactly.
wake up the next day and run a half marathon. I don't want them to do that tomorrow, but could they? I bet you they probably could. So I'm not necessarily worried about them showing up to the arena tired on Friday night. I mean, if you're tired going into a game 7 in prime time and you're low 20s, then you know what? You don't belong to be out there. I mean, this is what these guys have done. This is what they've worked all their lives for, is moments like this. So I'm expecting the best from both teams. Sure, if it goes into another overtime, double overtime in game 7, yeah, okay, maybe you're running on fumes. But these guys are going to come out. I'm looking for, listen, after what Celtics played in game 4, I was nervous about game 5 because I was like, what the hell happened to this team? They've lost 2 straight. They played like absolute crap in game 4.
That was their best game. I mean, well, game 1 maybe, but yeah, they came out.
Right, exactly. But after what I saw tonight, I mean, if I'm the Celtics, yeah, you wish that you pulled it off. You wish you didn't give away game 3. You're not talking about a game 7, but you just go in there pretty confident in what you have around you, right? You can only worry about the guys in your locker room. And me and John have said it. We sound like broken records. The Celtics' best is better than the Raptors' best. There was plenty the Celtics could have done better tonight. As good as the game was, Kemba Walker was certainly not even close to what he was. Tatum was uncharacteristically sloppy and wasn't hitting big game shots like he normally has. Jaylen Brown was cold in the second half. Tice was fine. Marcus Smart was fine. Not much to do with the bench. The Celtics can play better. So it's simple as they just have to. If they want to win this game, they know what it's going to take to beat a good Raptors team. Now you've seen the Raptors' best, or I shouldn't say their best, but you've seen their best game in this series. You know what they're capable of, and you need to come out and you need to at least match that. And the third quarters, we've already talked about it. You just have to somehow get over that third quarter hump. Don't put yourself in a position to be playing catch up in the fourth quarter.
And one thing I will say is, again, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk about the Raptors as the defending champions and hearts of a lion and this and that, and they've been through it. Yeah, but the Celtics have been to 2 conference finals in the last 3 years.
It's different. It's so different.
Yeah, it's different, but they've played in pressure games. They've played in games. It's not it's not their first rodeo. We're not talking about comparing the finals with the conference semifinals. What I'm saying is these aren't first time in the playoffs, what am I going to do? Freak out moments for this team. So I'm not super worried about that.
The rules are kind
This is the biggest game by far.
Yeah, but Bobby, if you're going to bring up roles, let's bring up the elephant in the room. There's no freaking Kawhi Leonard, okay? He was the one taking those big shots. He was the one that had to freaking beat team after team, game 7 after game 7. Jason Tatum's been there. Jaylen Brown's been that guy when he needed to. That run from 2 years ago goes a long way with these guys getting into a game 7.
I'm not worried about rising to the challenge. I'm just worried about, look, now we've seen each team can lay an egg, and when they do, the other team can really suffocate you, and that's really what it comes down to.
You've said this, John, and it's true. Toronto's not going to blow them out. This is going to be a close game. The Celtics can stay in it. They have enough shot making to get the runs, even if they do go down by 10 to 12 in a game. Right. They can get back. They just have to limit those clapback runs that the Raptors get on them. 8-0 in the halftime. Right back after that big string of threes to start the fourth. You can't be allowing Lowry.
The end of the second was I felt the whole thing turned there.
A minute and a half, right? It was like 2 minutes.
Unbelievable. It's that lapse, whatever it is, and that's just you completely get out of what you're doing. And you're right. That's how you're letting Toronto in there, with things like that.
But personnel wise, you got to end Robert Williams running the series.
Are you ending it?
Every goal.
In there.
What a roller coaster series!
I've never gotten it. We were teasing it. I was teasing people at the beginning of the show last game over this insistence that Robert Williams was the reason the Celtics.
You even went at B-Rob earlier today. I saw that.
I didn't go with B-Rob.
Wait a minute. What happened? What did you say?
The host with the most.
I asked him. Yay, you mentioned Williams to play more. It didn't go that great. You know?
Talk about how wrong you were.
Clarify it.
Yeah, no, it's true. But Bobby, I mean, you were at one point pretty high on Robert Williams' capabilities. So are you kind of? Well, no, I'm not asking you to say that. You're kind of at the point where you're.
Bobby.
Watch Williams go off in
I'm
game
not
7.
saying you was wrong.
Upset Bobby here.
No, so I'm saying we think about what could they have done late in the game. Tag some of the Raptors earlier in the game, and that can make a difference. And that's allowed.
Still no Cantor. Still no Cantor.
Cantor, he could have spent the series in the hotel room with a better view.
I think Brad told the network, I don't even want Cantor cutaways tonight. I didn't even see him.
I didn't notice him either.
I forgot he was alive.
Brad said, look, I saw the replay. Can you not go to Cantor?
The thing about Cantor is
bad coach Joe, even on the cutaways. I don't want to see him.
They could have squeezed Cantor into the series. It's too late for that now. Same with Boucher on the Toronto side. They tried to do that in Game 5, and he wasn't in the flow of things. So there's no room for Cantor.
Haters is what they are, Bobby.
I'd go a little harder on Grant. We have 2 games of Grant. One bad, one good. I thought he was solid.
I don't mind the Grant minutes. I'm not like – you're not – like I said, I'm afraid when Robert Williams is out there because he has these lapses, and you're right. You end up Ibaka could score 12 points in a minute and a half, just because he's like he did tonight, overplaying on the switches there.
His eyes light up.
And then I'm always worried about that. And it's the same thing with Cantor. You're just so worried they're just going to pick and roll him to death and just go on a run there. So like you're terrified. With Grant, I'm not as worried. It's not like, oh my God, here's a liability. There's just some games where Grant's effective and some games where he's slightly less effective. But it's not as like, those other guys are tough there. You know?
You just gotta squeeze in the most minimal bench minutes you can in this next game. Wanamaker for Kemba for a few probably. Brown and Tatum gotta go the whole game, and then squeeze out Tice with Grant. They're gonna have to just minimize the bench minutes however they can here because that's what Toronto's doing, and Toronto's doing it effectively.
Yeah, you get Semi in there a little bit. You match him up with Siakam. You eat a few minutes there, but you know that's your offense. But I mean that's about it. I mean that's all. I think
you need the reason. I don't think Kemba Walker's gonna have another game like tonight. I don't think he's going to have a game like that, Game 7. I mean, there was
no chance.
You talked about how the Raptors only go as Lowry goes. I mean, you could probably make that case for Kemba, too. And it's not like he needs to drop, not saying he needs to score 25, but, I mean, on the defensive end, obviously he was, a bit of a weak spot at certain points in that game, we can, to say the least. And offensively, he just never got himself going. 0 for 3 in the first half. I mean, it's exactly what we talked about after game 4, when he did absolutely nothing out there. And then he came out firing in Game 5. And the Celtics cruise. So, I mean, I really think he needs to get himself going. But at the same time, I don't want him to get himself going at the expense of maybe Jason Tatum being able to get himself going because he started off extremely cold in Game 6. So I think a good start to Game 7, I mean, that's not breaking news, but a good start getting these guys going
Jimmy,
early is so
important. You came out with the string of defense, locked them down, capitalized on the offensive end, and it was game over by the end.
The defense was leading to offense in that game. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. And that just wasn't the case
at all. Knock them out early because the Celtics aren't going to close this. We haven't seen it yet in this series. So you got to knock this team on their ass, almost like Game 7 against the Wizards where Kelly lit them up.
That's what they were supposed to do in Game 6, but what do they have? A 6-point lead, and it wasn't enough. That third quarter, comes along, turns the corner, and then that's when Toronto does what they did. They went plus 10 in that third quarter. It was enough.
I want to say one thing that John mentioned earlier. What's that?
No, sorry. They were up by 10, but it was actually plus 5 by the end of it.
Got you. No, I was going to say John was talking about how, these guys have been in the playoffs before, this and that, but we can all agree this is all their biggest games of their careers. I mean, not to mention, they have much bigger roles this year, and they had no expectations to beat the Bucks in the second round last year, and they never really, after Game 1, when they did win that game, the story changed rather quickly after they dropped the next 2. This would be a disappointment if they lost Friday. As opposed, it would be huge. It would be a huge disappointment. So to me, the pressure is on.
Season for them. This is a pressure game. You're right. You know,
Yeah, I mean, and same with
Toronto can play the chip on their shoulder. Us against the world, we're the defending champs. Everyone counted us out. They said we're all Kawhi, and they kind of almost are playing with house money here because they've been discounted. The Celtics at this point are everybody's darling. They're the Vegas pick to get to the finals. Milwaukee, shit the bed. So they're just not that Miami's a pushover by any means, but certainly it's
beatable.
You have a clear path at this point.
Right.
Everyone's in love with their talent and the young studs and all of that stuff and the attitude.
And they've had opportunities to close them out.
Massive letdown if they lose.
They've done this so many times. Like I said to open the show, like I still feel 2018, and this felt a lot like that. Game 6, you're right there in Cleveland. Terry Rozier has that ginormous game, just like Jaylen Brown did here, and it wasn't enough. And then in Game 7. Cleveland just had more than them after winning the Game 6. This would be devastating because obviously we all know Miami's waiting ahead instead of Milwaukee. It feels like the most open year in the NBA that we can remember. No home court.
There's no perfect team, too. There's not like great, we get to go lose to Golden State by 70.
Lakers look
to be that
good,
team
though.
next year. So who knows when this opportunity is going to come again.
Yeah.
Right, but we have to remember, guys, Toronto's thinking the exact same thing.
Yep.
We don't have to go through Giannis. We can beat the Miami Heat. If we top the Celtics, we're going to the finals. Like all those.
Toronto knows this is their last game.
Kyle Lowry has one game left in his career, and it's Game 7, and then he's going to sit in a tub of ice
perpetually. Yes,
they're going to lose Van Fleet. Ibaka probably too. Gasol's done, as we've talked about.
But they're going to get Giannis on a one-year rental.
We'll see.
True.
Trade for Giannis. Trade Pascal for Giannis.
Yeah,
that's what we're.
So my prediction
tomorrow. That's Toronto's last game ever on Friday if they lose, and the Celtics
the entire city is going to be destroyed.
They got to close up.
That's it.
So nervous.
They just lost their baseball team, so
the longest champions of all time.
That's
a
it.
good way to go out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up. We've had final thoughts for a long time, so I don't think we need to say any more unless somebody's dying to get one more thought out.
I'm just going to say this. I said Celtics in 7 to start, and based on what I've seen,
haven't you switched that like 3 times?
I know, but I said it to start, and
every game.
It's like, the highs and the lows. It comes down to Game 7, and what I'm going to say is I'm not switching my prediction. I'm going to keep it based on what I've seen. If the Celtics play their game, I think they beat the Raptors game. So keep it.
Okay. I'll just say this. All right, we talk about how the Raptors put together their best game of the series. We just saw that in Game 6, right? I think they have, but can they do it again? I think only Pascal Siakam can answer that question.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
He's the guy.
That would piss.
And if he's the guy,
that would piss me off more than anything.
I'm in trouble.
If Pascal Siakam comes out and plays one good game and gets to be the hero here,
if he goes Kelly Olynyk on us, guys. Kelly Olynyk, Game 7.
No,
Our younger fans, Kelly Olynyk, 28 points, Game 7 against the Wizards.
I can live with Kyle Lowry.
Powell already did it. Powell had the Kelly Olynyk game.
He did.
I can live with Kyle Lowry beating the Celtics. I will not be able to live with Pascal Siakam getting hot in Game 7. I won't be able to.
I did it. You sucked. You sucked all series.
Horrible.
He'll be in Jaylen Brown's nightmares if that happens.
The Raptors are gonna win Game 7.
I want to be drinking.
Bobby.
It's been my feeling.
He has no choice.
Bobby, you've been wrong this whole time. What? Really?
I'm going with it.
All right.
I feel like there's something about what they're doing in the series, and John said it all series. They don't do anything outstanding. No individual showed out until Lowry in this one, but they stacked up all the little things, including all the nonsense they did tonight with Nurse and Lowry and all the rest. And that stuff can steal a series, and I think it's going to here. And that kills me because this is such a critical year for the Celtics. And I don't want to watch Toronto, Miami. I don't, but it's just what I feel.
Okay, well,
if Tatum doesn't go off. Okay, last thing. If Tatum doesn't go off, then he had me completely fooled. I'm beside myself.
I will be a little bummed if Tatum, like I said, goes out like this.
I'll be shocked. I will be shocked if he puts up what we saw tonight. Not tonight, but
he goes for
in the past.
16.
What was the last bad game he had? If he does that, or if he doesn't score anywhere over 20 and shooting over 45% or something like that, I'd be shocked. I really would.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I'm drinking Bobby's tears Friday night and Nick Nurse's tears Friday night. I'm drinking them. I'm going to be very
Friday night turn up. John, can we drink?
Yes.
Yes.
There's
I'm gonna be buzzed.
no reason you guys shouldn't be drinking now.
You guys heard it.
Go work in the morning.
Green light.
That's
Not
why.
on Friday.
That's why I always do it by the bar. So it's right.
I'm gonna be.
I noticed it the first time, but now I see you got a full bar there. There you
Right
go.
over my shoulder. There's some good stuff there.
There you go.
So
We're gonna be.
we'll have one.
I'll lick
We'll
it
have
up.
win or lose. We'll have a
Win or
drink.
lose.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start the show with it.
Bobby, don't you dare bring a champagne bottle for Toronto.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up.
Have a team to root for if it goes that way.
I have to stop you guys. You'll keep talking all night. We got a late one Friday. We need our energy. Okay.
Is it 9? Do we have a time?
Yes, it's
9.
9, late night.
I know.
Past
I love
Bobby's
it.
Friday is
bedtime.
going to be a day.
But yeah,
Get at me on Twitter, everybody.
Bobby's not allowed to stay up that
Game
late.
7.
Game 7s are good. This was an awesome game. Again, it's hard.
This is an awesome series. Isn't this what we waited for years? Like,
No, I still don't. I just think tonight was an awesome game. I think the
oh,
series.
think of the fans too, like in the comments, and just like the bases going back. Like
I
this
love Toronto and I love the fan base and I love it. I love the energy. It's been
This-
I
phenomenal.
do too.
I remember.
I'm just joking. I like the Toronto fans.
It's phenomenal. I love it. I love it.
Hey, they're
Passionate.
diehards. I love diehard.
They're into it. I love it.
I'll take 'em.
I honestly, yeah, for that alone, I wish we could keep playing the Raptors for the next 3 weeks. It's been
All
fun.
right.
But we got one more. It's Friday. We're going to be drinking. It's going to be late, and
Lit, too.
there could be Bobby tears. There could be Jimmy drinking Bobby's tears. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hard hats, baby.
Into the
So
series.
once again, for Josue, look at Bobby. He's sad already. He's resigned.
No, I'm going to be right.
More game, Bobby.
He's mourning. Josue, Bobby, Jimmy, we're going to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.